Hi, this is the Gundam Kitchen Millennium Hobbies, and we are about to do a video on the top 5 Gunpla series. I am disguising my face now because I am afraid of the repercussions of not having the common view of all US Gundam fans.
Man, forget that. I don't care. Gundam Wing sucks. So no lie, I really get the nostalgia behind Gundam Wing because a lot of people grew up on that. I was a little older when Gundam Wing was airing on like the Toonami block, after school block. I was already in college, so I was doing college things. I wasn't catching after school programming. I would catch the late night block on Saturdays, but that was very sporadic catching that too. So, not a big anime fan at the time. I caught Endless Waltz at the time. Sorry, not a big fan. That being said, I got 5 more top picks for the Gundam series. Now, like I said, not a big after school Gundam fan in the early 2000s, and not a big shonen fan either. I like my stuff gritty, hardcore. First anime I ever saw was Ninja Scroll. It really got me into anime. So, like my stuff gritty, and these are my picks. And they probably reflect that. These picks are in no particular order, all interchangeable. So, Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt Gundam. Man, great art, cool music, especially if you like jazz and old school style of music. But I just love how they had neither character is really the good guy, the Zeon character or the Federation character. They were just two characters battling it out, a bunch of grunts just doing grunt stuff, and these were like the ace pilots in this normal unit. Neither one were particularly new types or anything crazy like that. They just were pilots, good pilots who had mad kills, and the thing is gritty. A lot of nasty stuff goes on and just shows you the harshness of war. Also, very light on politics, which is a big thing in a lot of Gundam animes. It's just a small section in space during the 1 Year War. 4 episodes. Then they made into an hour-long movie. Perfect, nice and short, tight story. That was the first season. Watching a movie for them, December Skies, it gives you like an extra 3 minutes at the end of a couple extra scenes. And then you also have the second season. Didn't love the second season as much as the first. Hopefully they'll come out the third season. We'll see where it goes, because the second season was really building a new arc. So we'll see where that goes. Next up, it's an old school pick, and I'm surprised I like this one so much. War in the Pocket. Sleeper old school one. I'll get you the date. I think it's like 1988 or so. Sleeper old school one, though. Again, keeps that theme of not everybody's cut and dry bad and good. And I really like that in this one. And I think they do an excellent job of portraying the brutality, and that the sides really aren't that different. It's really short. It's told mostly from the perspective of a kid who idolizes the Zeon pilot and just mobile suits in general, and just has a different perspective. The kid's not the pilot. All your pilots are late teens to adults, and some of them are older. And it gives us killer suits like the Camphor. You got experimental suits like the Zegok and weird amphibious suits, all those ones. You got the Hygog, and the Alex comes out. So the Alex that sheds the armor, and very tight, down to earth story that shows you it's war. And this is another little section of the 1 Year War, which makes the University Century so interesting. And the fact that they have all these stories within it is just great. If you know nothing about Gundam, University Century is the main timeline of the bulk of your Gundam media. There's lots of Gundam media out there, and they're like not alternate universes, but just different stories that take places in different times and have nothing to do with each other. So like Wing has its own setting, and Double O has its own setting, and they're not connected to the Universal Century. They're all separate entities of their own. So, but the University Century, that's the old school one, and it's had media for the entire 40 plus years of Gunpla. So, very cool. Love UC stuff. And let's keep going with the UC stuff. AMS Team. That's another one that takes place during the 1 Year War. So, that's the main war that happens in the Universal Century. And this one, again, is very grunt suit oriented. Nobody has any special abilities. They're just a couple ace pilots or veteran pilots, and it's all ground based for the most part in this one, which is really cool. A couple scenes in the beginning have space battles, but it's very ground based. There is a love story. There's a little bit of like some questionable peeping Tom stuff that gets a little weird. I could do without it, but at the essence of the story, very grounded with the ground Gundam and all those cool Gundams you have, fighting basic grunt Zakus and Goof Custom. One of the greatest scenes of all mecha right there. One of the greatest scenes definitely in Gunpla. Goof versus the Easy 8s and all those other ones that Goof rips apart in that scene. Definitely check out that scene, if nothing else. And if you haven't noticed yet, another UC one's coming, Origins. So the original Gundam series that aired back in like 78 was mainly based on Amuro fighting Zeon suits or Zeon faction with Char, but Char was kind of placed in that place and is not very clear in the main story. He didn't want to be there, and he's actually, I don't want to give too much away, but he's actually playing Zeon out, the Zabi family, because he wanted revenge. So Origins is the story, the prequel that deals with Char and his childhood until he becomes an ace pilot. Really good, really gritty, and Char is a bad dude. Dude is just gangsta. He's just killing people for no reasons. He has reasons, but dude's ruthless to get what he wants, which is his revenge. And rightfully so. He deserves some revenge. But brutal, great animation and a very old school feel. Like they kept the essence of the old school art, but very modern and clean, and the dialogue's modern and clean. So you get the story right before the 1 Year War started, but in a very clean, modern aesthetic, which is great, but still pays complete homage to the old school. And I would say you could go from watching that into watching the original series, but it's rough because that old art and the dialogue makes it really hard. So it might actually be like a Star Wars thing where you watch it based on when it came out, not when it should go and flow chronologically. So I almost say if you want to get deep into Gundam, you got to watch Mobile Suit Gundam, which is the original one, then watch Origin, because it'll be so hard to sit through the original one when you have such a clean, beautifully drawn and great dialogue and tighter story type of thing. Very hard to switch gears. And then my last pick, the only one out of the Universal Century, IBO, Iron Blood Orphans. Watch it. Thing is so good. And what I really like about IBO is a lot of the other Gundam series that aren't in the Universal Century usually play on the exact same tropes that happen in the Universal Century. So a lot of them are colonies versus Earth, or some kind of dynamic like that, or enhanced pilots just based off of like some birth type of mutation or something like that. IBO is gritty as hell. Actually, I think the second or third series almost got banned in Japan because one of our main characters just cold blood shoots some prisoners. Stuff is gritty. Don't recommend it for the youngest viewers out there because it's child soldiers being brutal, and not like graphically brutal, but if you think about what's going on in the series and have a little humanity thinking about it, you're like, damn, that's some brutal type stuff. And that's what you want to see in something where it's talking about war and death and trying to give you an idea that this stuff is not good for people. And that's what the entire of the Gundam media has always been, is it's always human versus human, and it's always trying to tell you that war's not good, politics ruin things and things like that. So this one is just done in a different way, in a very like gangsters and space pirates type of way, and it's brutal, and people die, don't fall in love with anybody because they might not make it to the end. And that's my last pick, because that one, even out of my favorites UCs, that one just catches that raw power of like, these are big suits doing murdering other people in those suits. It's not just characters maybe dying in the thing. People are dying. You know, see the cockpits get crushed, people die. So very cool in that way. So of course people are not gonna like my picks because I didn't pick Double O, I didn't pick Wing, I didn't pick G Gundam. But that's a great part about Gundam. It has something for everybody. If you like campy, you got G Gundam. You can watch Tequila Gundam fight some other thing, and it's probably gonna be racist in a couple of years. Like, it's gonna cancel the thing anyway. But that's Gundam. It's got it all from more kids-like shows like Bill Fighters, which actually I thought the first 2 seasons of Bill Fighters was pretty good, and I would definitely watch that with kids, and I think it has enough for adults, especially adults who like Gunpla. You get to see your favorite suits from other series displayed in new, different ways, which is really cool. But, if I'm just watching it by myself, that's not really my deal. Good for ideas for kit bashes and stuff like that, or want to buy the product that they're throwing in your face in there. But I like myself a little grittier, like I said. So my honorable mentions, though, would be another UC series, much further in the future, Unicorn, and then the follow-up Narrative Gundam. Again, not my favorites, because they would have been on my list, but great art, cool suits, some amazing battle scenes in Unicorn, especially when all the suits are out there. Politics don't slow Unicorn down too much, so I don't really have a problem with the politics in there, but it just doesn't have something in there that makes me like those other ones. So, and the Narrative is the follow-up to that one. I've only seen that one once, so I can't clearly remember because I saw it in the movie theater, but it was good, and the art was great, so that's another good one. Those are my top 5 picks. Let's hear your top 5 picks. Throw them in the comments, and let's see what we end up with. See if we have a little similarities there. All right, like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.